Can you describe your dad for me?
Wow.
When you're at the wheel of a ship at night, far at sea and nothing else to do, you think about a lot of things you don't understand. You wonder why one man's born white and another isn't. And how about God himself? What color's he?
You know, it's funny because he died at 103, so...
Earl Cameron, one of the first black actors to forge a successful career in British film and television, has died.
I think in that way, I'm lucky that I have all that time, to reflect on my father. There are a few words that come to me, and one is nobility, another word is charismatic, and another word is just. He had a strong sense of what was just, and particularly for him as a black man in a predominantly white society. There was one particular story that really struck me. He was on a set in England. He was supposed to be passing by this group of West Indians, who were sitting and they were smoking on a street corner, and the others were kind of drinking in the afternoon. He said he felt his anger rise as he read the script, that would never happen. He said that this is a working community. They're not gambling on street corners. This idea of black men sitting on the corner just kind of idly doing nothing was not correct. He slept on it, and he just found himself getting increasingly angry. So he went to the director and he said, if this is how you're going to portray black men in Britain, I can't be in your film. And
wow.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine? He needed money. He wasn't a star, far from it, for him to do that.
He was risking a lot.
He was risking a lot. And the director said to him, well, I'm sorry, Earl, this is how it is. Mm-hmm. Had no intention of changing it. And so my father said, I appreciate the opportunity you're giving me, but I can't be in your film.
Wow.
You think of an actor, how they wait for an opportunity, and for them to just say they're not going to do it on principle. To me, that is upholding the nobility of the human being, and not wanting to
make concessions.
Make concessions, exactly. My father made no concessions when it came to him as a black man. He was not prepared. And it was one of the reasons he never went to America. He didn't want to bring up his family, mixed race children, where he felt that they would experience a lot of racism. Not that he didn't experience racism. When we were young, we were all 5 of us, all in private school, and it was expensive. Dad was not working consistently, and my mother also had a business, but life was tough at times. Our expenses were high. He got a film with Al Pacino, a walk-on role type of thing. He saw the script, and he was going to have to be cleaning toilets, right? And he had like a 10-second speaking role. And he said, I can't do it. I cannot portray black men in these roles. Yeah. And then, my mother said, bills are due for the school. Got this expense, that expense. We'd had the bailiffs come to the house. You probably don't know what that is. Where they take your furniture and stuff. I remember that had a profound impact on me.
Did they do that?
Well, we're living in South Kensington, probably above our means, because my mom was a little like that. My mother stood in front and said, over my dead body. But anyway, so my father did the role, but he never put that on his resume. And the film, was fairly successful, but he never talked about it. He refused to have that on his film credits.
Wow. But he did it for your mom.
He did it because he had 5 kids, and we needed to eat, and we needed to be educated.
I remember I called your dad. I was standing on a street corner in Brooklyn, and I was telling him, David and I are moving to LA. And it was a silence. He hated LA. He hated Hollywood. He hated everything about the film industry and that kind of like glitz and glam, the materialism. And he said, from the frying pan to the fire. And he said, LA is a cesspool.
Yeah.
He hated it.
He'd had many experiences in the US where he felt the dignity of a person of African descent be annihilated, just stepped on. And that was one thing in Britain that he didn't experience as much. Any time, it didn't matter if it was watching television, or it was if I came back from a meeting or a party or whatever, his one question was always, were there any people of color? He would always ask that. He would always say, no matter where you go, scan the room. And you ask yourself, where are the people of color? Where is the diversity in that room? And
Are people being included?
Where is the inclusivity? If I'm using terms now that we use today, whatever term he used then, however he put it. And if there aren't, ask yourself, why not? And so wherever I go, I'm always looking for representation constantly. I'm constantly scanning.
Yeah.
And
I know that about you. I don't know if people know this, but Sidney Poitier and your dad were really good friends. They kind of came up at the same time.
That's right. They did. Yeah. And he's from Bahamas and my father's from Bermuda. So, they had that in common. And they kind of separated ways when Sidney Poitier went to America. A funny memory I have of, so Sidney Poitier was coming over for dinner with his wife, Joanna, I think her name was. She was so beautiful, I remember. I was like really excited because, Sidney Poitier star. I was maybe 11, 10, and I got all dressed up, and I planned my whole thing. I was going to enter the room, I put some makeup on, God knows what it looked like. So I just sort of casually sauntered in. Oh, Mr. Poitier. And my father said, what's that stuff on your face?
Oh my
God, I could have died. I think I did die. And I just kind of scampered out.
Oh, like a wounded puppy. You did that to me. I came down one time. We had people over and I was wearing a denim skirt. And my mom said, what is that? Go upstairs right now and change.
Because it was like...
It was not that short. It was not that short. The apple
Right.
doesn't fall far from the tree.
That's right. That's right.
History repeats itself.
No, I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. Do you miss your dad?
My father used to call at least once a week, and no matter where I lived, all over the world. So I miss those calls. I miss his wisdom. I miss him being so interested in my life, in people's lives. And he loved telling stories. I really miss that. And with my mother, I just miss being held and the warmth and her stroking my hair, just the physical. But, I'm grateful, truly, truly grateful for the parents that I had.
I hear a lot about your dad. I was lucky to have him most of my life. But I never met your mom.
I lost my mom. I wasn't young. When I was 7 months pregnant with you.
So you were 34.
So I was 34.
Which is kind of young. It's quite
Yeah,
young.
well, it was particularly upsetting because it was 2 months before you were born. I was in Australia and I couldn't get back for her funeral and I couldn't get back to see her. My mother, she just was warmth and love and safety. Children crave time with their parents without any distraction. And my mother was distracted a lot because, of having 5 children and working and being very active in her community and so on. But I remember one time walking home from school and coming into the house, and this was a very unusual sight. My mother was sitting by the fire, peeling an orange. It's just stayed with me. And what am I now, 62? I still remember that moment. And I said to her, can you always be here sitting when I come home from school? Can you always be there? And of course, that's not possible, but it shows what children need. They just want connection with their parent, unadulterated by any other activity, just that focus.
That's so sweet. One of my favorite stories about you and your mom, like you said, she worked. She had gone and, left to get on the tube. And you followed her down the street silently behind her until you got on the train with her. And she said, Alan, what are you doing? And you said, please, I won't ask for nothing.
Please, Mum, I won't ask for nothing.
I always thought that was so cute.
I craved time with my mother. I think all children do. They just crave time. I know with you guys that I always wanted to give you your own time. Would try to get you to have mental health days away from school so that I could have you one-on-one and just give you that, because I crave that so much.
Those mental health days are some of the best memories I have of my childhood.
Yeah,
I
and some of
remember.
my best memories as a mother.
I sometimes, more and more as I get older, get nervous about not having you anymore.
Oh. But you see, that's the wonderful thing. Your parent is always with you, and you feel them in different ways. You know, you feel their presence in different ways. And just having somebody watching over you, there's so much to be said about that. You know, that you can feel them at different, like how you felt Grandpa, you know, Nat.
Yeah.
You know, I really feel my parents, you know, their guidance. So. Oh, I'm crying. What are you crying for? Oh, that's a lovely girl. Oh, I love her so much. I'm so lucky to have children. That's a blessing. It's a blessing. And a curse.